Welcome to the Directors Club podcast, your go-to resource for child care center owners and directors seeking success at their centers. Each week, we dive into the world of child care management, sharing valuable tips, tools, resources, and strategies to help you build enrollment, retain top teachers, and streamline your operations. With a casual and lighthearted approach, we tackle the challenges you face from staffing and enrollment to business skills and time management. Join us as we unlock the secrets to creating a thriving childcare center. Let's laugh, learn, and grow together. This is the Directors Club podcast. Welcome to Season 2 of the Directors Club podcast, exclusively for child care center owners and directors. I'm Noelle Dentino, ex-corporate girl turned child care center owner. I took my corporate skills, paired with my sister's early education background, to create easy-to-implement business practices that have made our center, Scribble Time, a huge raging success in our community. And now I'm here to share with you business tips and tools to help you build enrollment, find and hire your next grade teacher, and get your center operating just how you want it. Let's do this. Hey there, it's Noelle from the Directors Club, and I'm excited this week to talk about burnout, not just for the teachers, but for you as child care center owners and directors, because as an owner and director myself, I feel it too. If you're new to listening to my podcast, I'm now streaming it live over on YouTube. Some of the podcasts, not all of them, but I'm going to be putting up a few more podcasts on YouTube so that you can see the video, or maybe if I'm interviewing someone, I have some interviews coming up in the next few weeks that I'll be sharing with you to help you in your center from all different topics. So I'm excited to let you know that there is a YouTube channel now for this, and there is a link in the show notes. So today we're talking about leadership and burn. Like, when did we get burned out? We've been burned out. We got to fix it. But most leaders experience burnout at some point in their careers. And it's easy to see why. You are typically delete. Most leaders experience burnout at some point in their careers. And it's easy to see why. You're dealing with typical stress of the job and the added pressures that come from leadership. This is especially true for a director of a child care center, when you're often stretched thin and wearing multiple hats. It's a lot of responsibilities for hiring, managing the staff, retaining them, engaging and working with the families, the students, and keep the business side of things afloat. And that's just the beginning of what we have on our plates. So what is burnout? Burnout happens when stress from work begins to take a toll on you physically, mentally, and emotionally. Leaders experience burnout may feel exhausted, overwhelmed, irritable, moody. I'm like, all right, that's every day. But you might find it hard to manage your team with patience and empathy. You might feel less motivated than you usually do, like work isn't as satisfying or rewarding to you as it once was. And physical symptoms of stress could show in the form of headaches, stomach issues, trouble sleeping, and other problems. If it sounds like you, it might be time to get serious about taking care of yourself. And even things are going well, you might even consider doing them so it just becomes a habit and really supports you as a tool of you recognizing your body responding to your stress level. So how do leaders address burnout? There's a bunch of different ways. I'm going to go over 6 with you today. So the first one is get better at delegating. Now, if you don't have anyone like a personal assistant following you around to dedicate to, look at job responsibilities in your center and see if you can find ways to delegate a task you do to someone else that might benefit them, because it might be a new skill that they learn, or it might be if they're looking to get more into leadership roles, it could be a really great way of them taking on a leadership role at your center and feeling good about themselves and really elevating themselves with the team so that everybody thinks that looks at this person as a leader. When you delegate, you free up valuable time for yourself and time that you can spend doing other tasks, or maybe not doing tasks and maybe doing something down the line that we're going to talk about. You also, again, allow the team members to utilize their strengths and grow their skill sets and gain the experience. The second thing is let go of perfectionism. I used to do that all the time. I would develop a system or something for the school, and I would just focus on it and focus on it and focus on it and develop it and change it and never put it out there because I'm like, had to be perfect to go out. Let go of perfect. When you're committed to leading effectively, it can be so tempting to let your perfectionism tendencies take over. But perfectionism is unrealistic standard, right? That we will inevitably lead to burnout because we're just so hyper focused on all the things plus this one thing we want to be perfect with. So sure, some things need to be done perfectly, but some things just need to get done. And learning the difference and learning how to allocate your time and energy accordingly can make a big impact on your ability to manage stress and avoid burnout. The third thing that you can do to battle your director's burnout is set boundaries. I have recently met with a bunch of childcare center directors in a class that I taught, and one of the questions that they had to answer to come to the course was like, what are you struggling with now? I cannot tell you how many of you told me I get interrupted all day. And that can lead to burnout. That can lead so much stress. As a leader, we need to set boundaries with our team. They do not need to ask you questions and have access to you 24/7. They do not. So you can set some boundaries. One thing that I think is helpful that we did early on in the center was we set boundaries on when they could text us to call out. We would get text messages. I'm not kidding you. My husband and I were sleeping, and at 3 a.m, someone's texting and calling out, and then we're awake and not going back to sleep. So put in place a call out procedure to help you set boundaries of your time. Do you like to sit and have coffee on Saturday mornings and no one talk to you? You tell people, don't text me until after 12 on Saturday. Set those kinds of boundaries. Also, when we are leaders, you sometimes need to stay late and work late or on weekends. But when the line between the work and home life gets blurry, it can lead to burnout. It definitely can lead to burnout. So learn to create healthy boundaries. For example, set a time when you'll quit working every day, or make a rule that you're not taking work home. Intentionally set aside time to unplug from email and resist the urge to get something done. And I am a huge struggler with that. I would sit and just work and watch TV because it doesn't bother me. Like, I need to do something. And so I'm going to get into that in number 6. The fourth thing is be proactive. Be proactive taking care of yourself. Instead of hoping burnout won't catch up with you or working through burnout, you need to just stop. And you need to take the steps to check in with yourself and take care of yourself to make yourself better. And I'm going to tell you that this happened to me this week after I wrote this podcast. I had written the podcast weeks ago. So I had this content ready to share with you. I just had to record this for you. And I woke up with, I came home from work and all of a sudden I had this massive headache. I was exhausted and my body ached, and I was like, oh my God, I'm getting sick. I don't want to get sick. And so I was like, maybe I need to take a step back tomorrow and not go to work. So I did. I stayed home, and then I was like, I need to rest. So I put my work down and I went and baked something. I'm like, what do I want to do right now? So I baked scones is what I baked because my daughter and I love those. And then I'm like, I can't work all day. I can't delete. So what I ended up doing, another thing I ended up doing was staying home and getting up. And I like on Saturday mornings to sit and watch TV and have a cup of coffee. So I sat down and I put on Discovery Plus and I watched some house shows out in Montana of people looking for houses in Montana because I want to live there. It's so beautiful. I've never been, but it's a goal. And so that's what I did. I made scones and watched videos about houses in Montana. So that's what you need to do. You need to be proactive. I don't do that. And so I'm starting to do this because I'm really going to bring in more mental health into my childcare center to support my teachers. And I need to be able to do it for myself as well because it's not good or healthy to be stressed out. The fifth thing, deal with burnout for you, is to find something that inspires you. I always find a project at the center that you want to work on that inspires you, gives you more energy, gives you something to look forward to. That brings out your good mental health and reduces your burnout because you don't feel inspired when you're burned out. But you have to bring yourself to a project. Like, what would make you super happy to see running at your center right now? And so this year we've never done an art show before. And so I'm super excited about it. We hired an ice cream truck to come. We have been saving the kids' artwork. Everyone's going to be doing an Earth Day project, and it's just going to be a great opportunity for our community and for the kids. And work on at your childcare center and carve a little time out each day. If you've done my Get It Done challenge, 15 minutes a day, this is your project. What can you work on that you'd be like, you know what, I'm going to do this? Like, the art show isn't costing us really anything. The ice cream truck obviously is, but I didn't have to do that. I could have made scones with them. Doubt that would have gone over well with the kids, but you could bake something. You could not have food and have an art show, or maybe you have a movie night, like whatever you want to do at your childcare center. So find a project that would inspire you. It could even be, say you love gardening. It could be maybe like going outside and maybe making a container garden outside the entrance or near the playground or wherever you want to put it. But like something that will just bring you inspiration at work, and that can change your mood and your burnout. And the sixth tip to battle burnout for childcare center directors is find a hobby. Now, finding a hobby helps you to stop working, stop thinking. I talked to a psychologist one time, and she gave a tip to a group that said, busy hands, clear mind. And it works. It does. So I took up knitting years ago, and I don't knit all the time. I always have a project going, but I'm not good at it. Not good. I'll tell you a story that my grandmother passed away a few years ago, and she used to knit so many things. I actually have this really cool photo in my house. It's a shadow box, and it has a few projects of hers and the last ones that she was working on, but when she passed. And I love looking at that. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to keep the tradition going and make the preemie hats for the kids, for the babies. And so I sign out that Women and Infants Hospital in Providence, and I'm going to be making baby hats for the NICU. And I think they might give them to the other children as well. And so I start knitting the hats, and I find out that I knit really loosely, and the hats fit me. So that didn't work. I had to withdraw myself from the program, but I just knit squares that, sometimes they look like squares. You can't really tell when it's a blanket, but that's what I do. I found I took knitting up. I can get free patterns online, yarn when it's on sale. So find a hobby. What could your hobby be? There's so many different things. There's like cool things with the circuit makers. You could do paint by number if you can't even paint, but paint by number. Have you ever seen Let's Make Art on Facebook? Check that page out. She's so cool. She sells art kits, like their watercolor kits. They're gorgeous. And then you get a video, and she walks you through how to paint the photo. It's so fun. I shared that. I got that for my daughter and her friends one time for Christmas. Find a hobby. And so battling teacher burnout, again, is finding ways to take care of yourself. So it's delegating, letting go of perfectionism, setting boundaries, being proactive, finding some inspiration in a hobby. And those are things that you can do if you do them. I just said to you, I wrote this a few weeks ago and wasn't even thinking about this podcast specifically. Went on a couple days ago. I was like, I do not feel good. Like I just wasn't feeling right. And I actually feel better. I feel recharged. I came home, did some different things. And I think that we all need to start doing that because, my friend, the work at the childcare center is not going away. You're never going to be like, if I'm just there today, if I'm here for this extra hour, everything's going to be done and I'm fine. No, take care of yourself. Walk out, take the sick day, get in there one day. You get in there one day and everything's running fine and no one called out sick. Guess what? You got to leave. Leave at 10 o'clock in the morning after everyone's all set up. And you can take time too. You don't need to explain why you're leaving. Take some time to yourself. Go home, bake a scone, knit a big, huge hat for a baby. Do whatever you want to do. Sit outside, go for a walk, be by yourself, re-energize, and decrease the burnout that you have in your roles. I have a free download for you also to share with your teachers, and 4 tips to support the mental health of your teachers and increase retention, because we're all battling burnout and mental health and all the things. It's just been everything's so stressful all the time, and we can reduce it. And we can just take charge of it, and we can change things at our childcare centers and keep that teacher that is so stressed out that she doesn't feel like maybe she can teach anymore, and that's why she's leaving, or things aren't going well in her classroom. And so I'm giving you this download. It just has 4 tips to support them, to help them battle the burnout that they feel as well. So I hope that you learned something from this podcast, and I'm excited to start sharing some of the podcasts with you on the YouTube channel. And if you want to connect with my weekly podcast, there's a link in the show notes here. And I would love to connect with you on all of our social media accounts too. And if it's your first time watching, I'd love you to leave me a comment. Tell me where your childcare center is from, and I'd love to connect with you. Hope you have an awesome day, and thanks for listening. Thank you for listening to this week's episode. If you know another director who might benefit from listening, please share the link to my podcast. I love connecting with directors and sharing business tips to make their lives easier too. The show notes below have all the links from the podcast and my social media connections. I'd love you to tell me how I'm doing by rating the show or leaving a comment. Hope you have a great week. I'll be cheering you on. Thank you for joining us on today's episode of the Directors Club. We hope you found tips, tools, and strategies valuable for your childcare center. To access even more resources and take your center to new heights, visit our website at thedirectorsclub.net. There you'll find a wealth of exclusive content, training programs, and support tailored specifically to childcare center owners and directors. Don't miss out on this opportunity to unlock your center's full potential. Remember, success starts here at the Directors Club.